Ray. Not only have I launched Insider, I recently went to the Pioneer Saloon here in Nevada with the Insiders and doing a t-shirt giveaway. Remember, Insiders, to put in your answers to the questions there. So Insider lets you pick an option of $4.99 a month or $54 a year. You can now purchase Into the Fray gear, including shirts, notebooks, cell phone cases, various goodies at intothefrayradio.threadless.com. And if you get a t-shirt, please take a picture in it, tag me in the photo, email it to me. I'd love to see you guys in your Into the Fray gear. Thanks as always for supporting the show. If you are a new listener and have yet to do so, please go to iTunes or Stitcher, whatever podcatcher you might listen to me in, and leave a rating and a review. That way others with similar interests can find the show. So without anything further, let's get to Jim Pyre. Yeah, this will go up tonight, so...
oh, wow. Whoa, okay. That's cool. What did you think of the picture I sent you?
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about that one. And actually,
did you look at it in the dark? Did you look at it in the dark?
It made a total difference, and I'm like, what the hell is that?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Well, in fact, I want to, if you wouldn't mind, I'll do a little intro for you, but I want to start with whatever the hell that is in the dark room, and then go to the grass manual, and then finish up with
the lights. Okay, we
and
can
the
do that.
forest story, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, cool. No, that's perfect.
Cool. All right, so on this episode of Into the Fray, I have Jim Pyre, and you guys will know him because he has called into the iTF hotline very graciously a few times. So thank you, Jim, for being here and for encouraging others to call, hopefully, the old iTF hotline. Welcome.
Hey, thank you. It was a lot of fun. I hope I don't sound like a frog. I always think I sound like a frog on these things. So there you go.
I think we're all our own worst critic because I feel the same way when I listen back. You should look at my face while I'm editing. I'm like, oh, God, I'm such an idiot. I say the dumbest things and I sound terrible. But, of course, we're our own worsts, you know.
Yes. Yes, but I'm hoping that you edit my bad stuff out. So there you go. See that?
Oh no,
that
this whole thing
that frees me up.
Yeah, recording last minute like this, I'm like, well, hopefully he's on point because I'm not editing anything. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
The editing bumps your IQ up at least 10%.
It really
absolutely does.
You
cut out all the
and then you know, it's just then you can take all that out. But yeah. All right, so before we get into the things that you want to talk about, your stories tonight, who are you and why do you do this? By the way, can I just say before we begin and get your backstory, your website is really cool.
Oh, thank you.
Something about even just the homepage, I'm like, ooh, it just sets the tone. I like that.
Thank you so much. I have a friend in the Philippines, and she did that for me because cool. I am inept at that stuff. So yes, but I sort of gave her the idea of what I wanted, and I'm blown away.
Oh, it's awesome.
I'm glad you like it.
Oh, I was touring around that thing earlier in the week. It's Jim Pyre, Pyre.com. For everybody, go check that out. I need to update it
more, but my abilities are sorely lacking. So it will be updated sporadically, I promise. I absolutely promise.
I was going to ask you, do you still do that podcast that's listed there?
Oh, well, it is actually on hiatus. My partner, the big worm, quote unquote, he was going through a divorce. So
gotcha.
So he's fighting over his equipment and where it should go. But once that is fixed, we'll be on the air.
That sounds good. It can take a while. Totally get it. Totally understand.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've been through more than one of those, so I can absolutely understand.
Yeah.
There you go.
They can be a little long in the tooth, so that's okay.
Absolutely.
Well, that's very cool. So what is the name of that podcast, just to throw that out there?
Diminished Consciousness. We actually have, I believe we have 3 up. And it's a podcast really about creativity. I tried to stick my creepy stuff in there, and he tries to prevent me from doing it. But it's mostly, he is a musician and he's an artist. It's his equipment mostly because he's amazing when that stuff happens. He actually plays the guitar, but he plays every other instrument that he sets foot in front of too. Jeez. So that for me, that's I don't know what that is.
Those are people that can right? Yeah. He can access all these other different parts of the brain that I'll never tap into that. That's incredible.
Me neither. I can write good if I really try. That's all I got.
I think you can write more than good.
Well, thank you. But that's it. No musical instruments, no art, nothing. I got nothing else.
No massive equations that need like 3 massive blackboards to do, or that's how I
wish I could give you I have decided years ago that I wanted to make a study that sort of matched my personality. And I have a wall of paranoia. I have blackboards with random scribblings on them. I have hanging pictures. I have things that don't function, but 8-track tapes and such. It looks like a madman lives here, and I think it's funny because if I do keel over, somebody's going to go, "A madman lived there."
It makes for the best decorations, though, just random stuff.
Oh, it does. It absolutely does. Yes, my friends refused to come into this room, and that's pretty much why I did it. So there you go.
See, Jim, I knew it. You have the whole equation how black holes work sitting right there next to you, don't you? And you're just holding out. You
know, it might be my luck that I've done it, and I don't know what it is that I've stumbled upon. There's a bunch of those in the world, isn't there? It's like, he made flubber.
Yeah, like, oh, whoopsie. It's like the whole Honey, I Shrunk the Kids thing. It would be something like that, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Which is not a pointless invention, if you ask me. That was amazing.
I'm all for the giant turkey, but we're showing our age, I think.
Yeah, oopsie. Let's cover that back up. Yeah, so, okay, so you are a writer. Obviously, you research as well. You've encountered some very strange things. So, okay. We were going to record this a couple days ago. It didn't happen, so we're doing this today. But it worked out well because in the meantime, you sent me a picture through Messenger. and at first, I didn't even... I asked you, hey, do you maybe have any pictures for the main episode image? Because sometimes that can take half of the time of actually recording an episode is finding a nice, creepy, proper image for the main episode image. And...
strangely enough, I have a few of those. So there you go.
Well, hey, you'll have to send along those after we're done recording. Maybe I'll use those. Because, you have to use free use pictures and you have to have permission. And I'm always very careful with that stuff. So you sent me a picture of something that was caught, you said, by your team in
I've actually,
a room.
Yeah. Yes.
And I'm going, hold on one second. A multi-call recorder's like, hey, do you want to update me? No, not right now, damn it.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I was distracted. Okay, so at first it was daytime. I get this picture and I'm like, what in the world? It just, I couldn't see anything. But then it did, in fact, get dark. Eventually, it always does. Mm-hmm. And I opened it back up, and then I actually downloaded it and brightened it up even more. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, what the hell is that? Now, my initial reaction was it was a doll that had creeped up behind you guys. Now, you guys were on an investigation or set the stage for this picture? Yes,
we were actually in an investigation. It was in Chicago. I've been with a bunch of groups since forever. I've always been really interested. I think my grandparents lived in a house that I know was haunted. I absolutely know it. But, it's one of those things where I think you have to have certain traits or characteristics or experiences, and then all of a sudden some switch gets flipped and you're interested for the rest of your life. So I've gone Bigfoot hunting. I've gone, that's my own word, but I've gone Fae hunting, for lack of a better word.
Interesting.
I've gone, the only thing I really haven't gone is sort of done the lights in the sky, because really I'm cool with it. If I could stumble on like some creature coming out of a ship, I think that would be neat. But the lights in the sky, I'm like, I don't know what that is. It could be, a set. I don't know. It's just lights in the sky. So
I agree. It's quite anticlimactic, because to me, I think that 90% of all these lights in the sky story are just our military, or like you said, a satellite that, hey, you get your app out and you can identify those sorts of things. So I agree. A little on the boring side sometimes for that whole side of it.
I think that if there is nuts and bolts stuff, I mean, that's way cool. Hey, God bless. Come on and see us. but I really like the sort of high strangeness stuff. I make pilgrimages to the Mothman statue. I used to live in Ohio, and Ohio is a creepy place. So lots of stuff like that, lots of Midwestern Gothic. So yeah, I just got interested. That picture is from, of all places, it's from a basement of a bank. And I can't really tell you where the bank is, but it is in Chicago, but like not specifically because they'll get upset.
Yeah.
And there were people. It's the records room, and there were people down there, and they got the heebie-jeebies. And one of our members knows somebody in the bank, so they kind of let us sneak in, and they thought it would be funny maybe to just say, "Hey, nothing's there," or "Something is there," because. For me, I think the best thing about doing these things, you have the age of TV and everybody wants to be on, everybody wants to do this. But honest, the best thing I've ever done is like told people, you're not crazy. What you're seeing, I'm seeing too. And I think that in this world, I think that's pretty darn wonderful.
Yeah.
It really is. I'd love it if somebody would do that to me with my stuff. So, when I get to do it, and you can really see, I had a case just to ramble on, but I had a case, and I think I talked to you about it, the one with Devin, where the woman was terrified because she brought her mother passed away. She brought all this stuff into her house, and all of a sudden things are happening that she just knows is impossible. And so she really thought she was losing her mind over grief. And we got in there and we showed her what we caught. And, it helped her. It really did. Right. As far as that one, I have no idea who that is. I don't know if it's, I don't know what it is. And I'll just leave it at that. People go, well, it's a ghost. And it has a bunch of baggage with that because it's a ghost. Or it's something else. And then you have all the bunch of baggage with it with something else. And I just go, I don't know.
So
she looks friendly. I think it's a she.
It looks friendly enough. Now, see, that makes it even worse for me, or maybe it's better because I like creepy things. But I thought you guys were at some house, and I'm like, well, it's a doll. You're in some room, and you didn't see a doll, and you snapped a picture. You're in a freaking bank in a basement in a record room. That makes no sense. It's a doll.
There was no doll, and it was taken at my height. So what is that like?
Oh, come on!
I'm about 5'11", so yeah.
This was taken just sort of at random your height. Taking. Now, did you take it?
No, but we all took the pictures.
Okay.
So it's all about my height because we're all about the same height.
Right.
I did not take that one. And most of my stuff turned out absolutely black.
Right. And you guys are just taking random pictures, or was there a reason that this particular person took this picture or felt that they should take the picture?
Of all things, he felt as though he's being watched. That weird sort of that feeling you can't quantify. You don't have the I'm feeling watched meter, but he felt watched and he took the picture and well, there you go.
Oh, I'm putting that one in. It might end up being the main episode.
I know you're going to get a bunch of folks, and arguably they're going to say, hey, it's fake, it's doctored, yada, yada, yada. And I've put that up before, but I know the fellow who took the picture. No, it's not really. Our little group does not have that kind of skill. Believe me. We don't. No. Right? No.
Yeah, she does have almost like a smirk, like you said, like she's smiling, or like there's a smirk, or see, that is even more interesting that it was snapped at around that height. What in the world?
Yes, because she doesn't seem to be like, by the proportions, she wouldn't seem to be that tall.
Right.
You're right. It sort of looks like a doll or a young child without eyes. That's the part that kind of creeps me.
Yeah, darn those no eyes.
Pretty hair.
Yeah, long, luscious black hair. I'm like, boy, I'd like some nice straight hair like that. So,
me too. I'll take it too.
Jim's like, hands up. All right. Now, does this go along with the reports there? Are there reports of a woman haunting the building or a child haunting the building?
No, as far as we know, and like I said, it was very kind of hush-hush. As far as we know, it's just people getting weird feelings. So we have a person who's looking into it now, but right now, no. So it's kind of shocking. I mean, what is that thing doing in the bottom of a neighborhood bank where there's just nothing but books and, accounting books?
Right.
God knows.
So this is very recent.
Yes.
And so you guys are still digging into things like history and trying to talk to people and see what you can find out.
Yes, it's a little bit harder because you don't want to stir anything up, especially when they don't want to have anything to do with that.
Did you
I've
show
noticed that.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I've noticed that. Like I have a good friend whose wife works at a hospital, and look, hospital folks see stuff all the time, but she actually showed me a letter. I mean, it was a memo, an email, and I have it on the computer, and I'll try to find it because I got a bunch of garbage. But in sort of no uncertain terms, it said, "Hey, don't tell anybody anything that might creep them out." And the most interesting thing about that memo is, why would you need to send a memo like that? That's what I asked.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never received a memo like that at my work. Like nobody say, "Hey, Jim, don't scare people. Don't do that."
Damn it, Jim, stop.
Yeah, I'm like, no, but it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense that people would see things at hospitals. I think people, and this is just my baggage. I think people, I don't know what it is. You see more at like high stress areas, or maybe you rip something open. I think that's why a lot of hospitals surely have something there. I think theaters, because people say theaters are notoriously haunted. I've been to one. I think it was haunted. I think the universe sort of runs on the energy of us, or something like that, or we certainly add to it, and it does something. It either leaves something or opens something up, and there you go.
I was just listening to Dave Schrader on Beyond the Darkness this morning, and he was talking to a gentleman that's in Georgia in a haunted location. Anyhow, Dave was saying that at one point he had been at that same location years ago, and that he was trying to do an EVP in a room that had other people in it. And he asked, are you here or did you die here? Something like that. A very simple question. And he does like a live review of, he asks a question, pauses, waits for an answer, and then he does a live review of his EVP on the recorder. And it's his own voice, very clearly his own voice answering yes. And he's like, what in the hell is this? So
awesome.
It's just very interesting if, there are certain energies, like you said, that get left behind, or are there people strong enough to do that instantaneously? Or maybe the ghost just thinks it's freaking hilarious to imitate Dave Schrader's voice. Who knows? But it was cool. That would be a cool thing to happen.
I think that's what happens. I tell my friends, like, if I go, I'm going to make your walls bleed. That's sort of the standard joke. And then people will come over and my friends will be laughing and take them away. It's like, your walls are bleeding. Yeah, it's Jim. It's just Jim.
Damn it, Jim. It's just Jim again.
You know how much that costs?
Yeah, like, Jim, can't you just clean some dishes or something? Run the vacuum once in a while.
That's right. Just make some footsteps. What is this?
You're like, go get your chains and your sheets. Come on.
That's right. Start rattling something.
Oh my gosh, that's what I said. I'm like, I'll be the Beetlejuice ghost, the poor couple that just is trying so hard to get those people out of their house. Get the old chains and the sheets out, real classic style. He's making that little we're dating ourselves, but his little diorama in the attic. Yeah. He loved that thing, man. Wife was jealous of that. She was. She's like, damn it, he's up in the attic again, playing with his miniature doll set.
Little guy. Yeah. Like, maybe we could go out once in a while. Maybe we could, watch some TV, Netflix, and some wine. Come on, kill me.
She's like, I'm going to burn that diorama to the ground. Oh. Okay, so have you showed then, since you got this memo, the memo is cracking me up. Have you shown them the picture of this young lady or woman or whoever this is then?
Yes. Oh yeah. We actually showed it to them right off the bat. And I think more than ever now, they sort of are not really interested in going farther.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. They don't, that ignorance is bliss at a certain point, I guess. So, and then if you're in that type of situation, you don't want to,
all right.
It's like, no, we're very materialistic. I'm saying in the philosophical sense. That stuff doesn't exist. Here's your credit card. Move along.
Yeah.
want that other stuff, man.
I mean,
No.
I understand that it's a business. It's one thing if you or I owned a home like that, we'd probably be like so stoked and like, this is awesome. But when it's a business, they're probably like, we don't need that stigma attached to this place.
Mm-hmm. No, you're absolutely right. And it's a business that's like right in the worldview that like, it's money. So it's right if that's not the top of the materialistic worldview, I don't know what is. You know what I'm saying? It's the banking system. It's here and now.
Yeah.
Deal with this. We don't want to deal with anything else.
Do you guys, for now, you still have access to the property and you're still doing some background work on that? Are you thinking maybe they're going to just ixnay the whole thing and say, you're not welcome back, we just want to bury this thing? No pun intended.
I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen, because that has happened to me before in certain cases, and that's fine. I mean, that's fine. The only thing is I would hope that the person we told would tell other people that they don't have to worry, because it doesn't seem like, I've done a few of these, and it's not, and I know your listeners know it too. It's not like TV. Nobody's throwing things at me. Nothing's happening. There's noises. Maybe I'll see something, but otherwise, it's going to be okay. It really is. So I think the biggest thing, like I was saying before, is to give them a certain amount of comfort. And if we did that, job well done. Even if we can't go in there again.
Yeah. I guess to some extent, maybe they feel like they've already gotten the closure. They're like, okay, well, that confirms the fact that maybe something is going on. That's all they need, and they can close the book there. We wouldn't be able to do that, but some people can.
That's true. It's like, carry on. Good day.
Okay. Be like, wait a second. Do you not see this picture? We have to continue.
Mm-hmm. No, that really is. That's true.
Well, Jim, keep me informed with that one.
Okay.
If nothing else, if we can't jump on, then you can always call the ITF hotline at 702-997-2007. There we go.
That's right. And if it hangs up on you, you can recall.
That's right.
You can recall.
You have about 10 minutes, right? I think it's around 10 minutes. Yeah. I didn't know that for the longest time until someone said, it hangs up on you after 10 minutes. I'm like, whoops. This whole time, I think I had it in there like, you can ramble as long as you want. Nope, not true.
And that's got my name all over it. Ramble as long as I want. I'm there. I'm in. I'm in.
All right, so you're in Chicago right now.
I am. I lived in Ohio for years, but my family, and I was born in Chicago, so I kind of came back. I wanted to see my nieces and nephews grow up, so I am back. Yes.
Love Chicago. Going to Giordano's on Saturday because they put a Giordano's here in Las Vegas, but it's down the Strip, which I never go to, but I will go down there for some Giordano's. It's the best pizza I've ever had in my life.
It is. I can't argue with that. The thing about it is I was sort of conditioned to love that pizza because my parents didn't want to cook for holidays, so we ate Giordano's pizza.
Amen. Why wouldn't you if you're there, right?
Yeah. So, it's in my mind. I mean, how can it be anything than wonderful? It's your birthday. We got Giordano's. It's Christmas. We got Giordano's.
I mean, it's two happy
like
things tied in together. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. It's like mind control.
Positive reinforcement. Giordano's stuffed. Are you kidding me right now?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. So we're talking about Ohio now. So let's go ahead and jump on down to Central Ohio. I didn't know if you wanted me to mention, because you gave me the location, but I didn't know if you wanted me to mention where this was. But this has to do with a grassman yell in Ohio.
Oh, yeah. I actually wrote a story about it, and I'll give you the sort of the basics. It was way long ago. I found some people, as you did back then, on Craigslist, but they were okay. I mean, they were good sort of salt of the earth folks. I was working in and around Columbus, and we just milled around and talked about wanting to see a grassman, which is Ohio's term for a Bigfoot. Yada, 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 months passed. And then finally, one of the guys in the group, he got contacted by, I think it was a family member, who owned a bunch of land by a forest preserve down south. It's a beautiful place. They have cabins down there. It's down 33. How about that? It's southern, but not like not like Cincinnati Southern, more to the east.
Right.
You know, was that good? Is that close? I mean, is that sort of a general enough?
Yeah, that's
vague enough. Okay.
That is good. I'll just say that I did look it up on maps, and it's heavily
it's
wooded.
A real place.
Plenty of woods.
Yes, it's a real place. And what happened was the fella said he saw something prowling around the outside, like far away, but along the tree line. Because what he wanted to do is he wanted to hunt, and he wanted to set up stuff for his cows. And I think he had pigs. It smelled like he had pigs. So one weekend we went over there, and we had, I didn't have much like hunting equipment because I'm not really a hunter, but these guys went in armed. These guys went in armed with everything they could throw in the back of a truck and a cooler and lots of beer. So we went.
Classic hunters.
Sorry,
absolutely. No, I'm just kidding. Don't write me about that, hunters. I'm sorry. I was just kidding.
It was a camping trip with a bunch of middle-aged men. So let's just call it that. So we set up some cameras. We set up our gear. I had a mic, not really all that powerful. So I actually have the noise we heard, but it doesn't do it justice, and I'll tell you why. But I mean, it was pretty much like we were barbecuing and we were drinking. It was very unimpressive until about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I know I was up, and there were 2 other fellas up, and there were 5 of us. So the other guys were sleeping. And all of a sudden, they weren't sleeping anymore. And all of a sudden, sort of, we kind of woke up from our beer-induced haze, and there was a noise from the tree line. It was absolutely like it felt like it was too close, but it was a ways away. I would say, I don't know. I'm horrible with like distances, but easily like half of like 50 yards. Mm-hmm. I would say 50 yards. And it was dark, and we knew that 50 yards was just grass, and then after that was the tree line. So we knew it was in the tree line. But the sound this thing made, I think they call it like infrasound. The sound, it was like being at a concert because it rattled your chest. Mm. And I had never had that in the wild before, in the forest before. You hear lions roar, and you can hear gorillas in the zoo, and it's like, wow, that's loud. Wow. It was like that, but the rattle in your chest is the thing that just scares the hell out of you. We were grown men, and these guys had weapons. And I remember I sort of got out of my stupor, and I looked to the guys, and I say, you want to go look, you want to go look for that? You want to go check that out? And they all look at me. No. Like, this is why we're here.
Probably no hesitation.
Nope. I didn't say anything. I didn't protest too much. And we heard something moving around after that, but we spent the rest of the night, men with guns, around a fire that we made sure didn't go out.
And you didn't sleep until the sun came up, and then
then when the sun did came up, we got the hell out of there.
Oh, you did? Were you supposed to stay another night?
Well, yes, but no, there was no. That was enough.
That's interesting.
That was all the proof these guys needed, and they were hunters. I am not. They like I said, they're salty earth folks. They deer hunt. They do one guy was a black powder guy. They hunt. So they didn't know what it was. It frightened the hell out of them, and it was one of those things where you don't feel so bad if the guy next to you is terrified too. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
You're like,
okay.
Thank God I'm not the only one about to pee myself. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. I don't need that kind of abuse.
Had you guys talked about Bigfoot before that, or did you even discuss? Okay.
Oh yeah, this was the whole thing. We had planned it. We were very enthused about
why
it.
You went out. I'm sorry. I just thought you guys were going out hunting deer or something, or just going to hang. It was to go search for Bigfoot. Okay.
Oh, that was absolutely the reason. Yeah, it's like, all right, well, this is our big chance. Yeah, that was the end.
And then
of
it
that
yelled,
group.
and everyone's like, #nope.
Yeah, that's right. I'm out of here. I don't want none of that noise.
What was
Literally.
the yell like? I know you can't really probably redo it, but
no,
what was it like?
Well, I know it was loud, and it sounded like there are no gorillas. The thing about Ohio is, I think, well, maybe there could have been because they're lax. They're very lax in their wild animal rules. But I've heard a gorilla at the zoo, and it was not that, but it was close, and it was loud, and it you get the from the feeling of the sound that you should go away. Right. I don't know what that is, but it's sort of, maybe it's built into our genetic code, but that sort of like
a sense of dread almost came over you guys.
Yeah, and more than anything, it was because I could feel it in my chest. I'm like, oh my God, that's it. It just sort of pinned you, and I think that's, what do you call it? Infrasound. Mm-hmm. And I think that's exactly what it's designed to do, and it worked. It absolutely worked. So that was the end of my grand adventure.
How long did the yell last, if you could guess? I know it was a long time ago. But...
Too long.
Yeah, you're like an eternity.
I have all the scratching and stuff. Seconds, 5 or 6 seconds.
That's a long time. If you really count it out, and if you're standing there in the dark, I suppose that would seem probably like a minute.
Because it started. I remember it started off sort of like a growl, like, and then all of it just got higher, louder rather, because not higher pitched, because it was a deep thing, and like a howler monkey maybe, but very lower pitched. I can say one thing: I've never heard anything like that before in my life. Never.
And
never.
Nothing after that.
And nope, and nothing since. And no, we heard like shuffling around. And again, nobody wanted to go look, but that was it. Nobody drank any more beer either. That was funny too. Nobody drank any more beer. We just huddled around a fire like we were a bunch of schoolboys.
Party's over, man. So this is at like 3 or 4. How long until sunrise? Was it around 6 or was it?
Yeah, about 6-ish, 6:30 maybe. So too long.
Was it shuffling around up until they say that?
No, just a few more minutes afterward.
Okay.
So that was probably it shuffling off. But one of those things where it's so dark otherwise in that place, and it's just there were just some trucks and a fire and some lawn chairs and us and the cooler, and that's all. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm sure the guy with the black powder, he's got the old school one where you have to load the powder, load the pellet, right? It's like one shot, and then you have to redo the whole thing.
He didn't bring that one to the hunt.
Okay, I was like, don't let that guy go out there. Somebody has multiple shots at their disposal, needs to go out and look for the Bigfoot.
There was a lot of talk about where the guy should pee. I remember one of the guys, and it's like, I'm not going. I'm not. Like, dude, don't pee around here. Just please, just the truck, all right? How about just the truck? Nobody's looking. It's fine. Somebody better be looking.
Sucks because you've already drank all that beer, and then you get woken out of your sleep, and now you really have to go. But you just heard the yell.
That's right.
Did you?
So that was a comedy. That was a Jim Pyre special comedy.
Yeah, that's one of those things. It's like too bad it wasn't on tape. The whole thing, right?
Nobody would believe it. They would say, "Oh, it's all made up. Oh, this is fake." It was. Oh my God, it wasn't. It wasn't. No. And I was there, and the fear certainly wasn't. Oh my God, I have never had that kind of just pin you to the chair as an adult fear before or since. I'm like, what in the hell?
Really? So to you, that was your scariest event?
Yeah, but it was almost like it was like a startle scare, because a scare normally you go, oh, okay, you're thinking about, at least me, you're thinking about stuff. It's like, what are the possibilities of what's going on? It was none of that. It was just the sound that pinned me. It was almost like my body's not working. We're done. It was like the Ghostbusters. I'm terrified beyond rational thought. I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to stand here, cry.
Since you guys were out there for this specific reason, and basically you got, you didn't see what it was, but you got enough to go, holy crap. Now, did any of your friends stop going out into the woods after that? Like, it scared them enough for that?
Well, I know they don't go down there. They still hunt, because that's sort of in their DNA, but they still hunt. But they're more wary than they used to be, and they don't go anywhere down there. As for the fellow that owns it, I know I haven't talked to him in maybe 3 or 4 years, but last I talked, they were putting in like big lights and stuff, and he had
Wow.
managed to sell off some of the land, so he's reducing. So,
He was
you know.
putting in big lights for
Yes.
the reason of it ties into the elves.
Well, I think he was putting in so he could keep a better eye on his livestock. We'll
Oh.
say that.
Yeah, you're like, I'll put it that way. Yeah, interesting. Wow.
Yes.
So I will assume he has lost livestock then. Wow.
I didn't want to go into. Yeah. Well. Yeah, that's a good assumption.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
we'll
not
just leave it
sure.
there. Yeah.
Why would you put, I mean,
Right.
giant floodlights.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're like, this is a sensitive motion light.
Yeah.
Set around 50 yards away to trigger. Yeah.
So, you know,
Wow.
so I'm assuming that whatever's creeping around on there is still creeping around.
Very cool. And this did happen quite a number of years ago, though.
Yeah, I'm 45 now, so it was in my 30s, so 10 years at least.
Yeah.
10 years ago. My God. Wow.
Interesting.
Yes.
I know,
10
time
years
flies,
ago.
doesn't it?
Yeah. Especially as you get older. It goes faster as you get older.
It does. It really does. You just start ticking away, and you're like, wait, slow down.
Yeah.
All right. So
I actually had a weird. I see, like I said, because I think some of your friends, I can't remember his name, but he was talking about that sort of synchronicity thing and having the Don Quixote book. I can't remember what episode that was on, but I've had instances like that too, where it's just weirdness happens in your life, and you go, "Why?" And I think that's why we all get into this thing, because it's like, why? I remember as a child, I had, as the time, because I was an Amblin kid. I grew up in the 80s, so we rode bikes everywhere. And before that, we had the big wheel.
yes.
I was in my back, and this is like south side of Chicago. And I grew up by Midway Airport, so there are airplanes, so it's no big deal. But I remember as a kid one summer where there was no one out but me, and this plane, or else I thought it was a plane, came right over the house, and it was huge. I mean, it in my mind, it makes sense because I was a kid, and it's like low, but it shouldn't have been that low. But the most striking thing is I don't have any memory of like the sound. So I assume it would be deafening at that height, because planes would pass by and you'd hear them all the time, because like, oh, it's going to Midway Airport. And I don't remember any plane crashing around that. I mean, they have, but not in that memory or any time around there. And I remember looking up and going, oh my goodness. And I remember jumping out of my big wheels and running into the house. And my parents, they didn't hear anything. They didn't see anything because they were in the house. So either I was having some kind of psychotic break at, I don't know what, 5, no, not even 5, 4, or that was something that I just don't understand. But it made a big enough impression on me that I still see it in my head.
And it was a conventional aircraft.
Well, at least that's what my brain's telling me.
Right.
It was a plane. Yeah, it was like a conventional big passenger plane, like a Delta or something, even though I couldn't see any of that stuff. But
No
again,
sound.
why didn't it make any noise? What is that?
That's
And
interesting.
I remember my mom and dad. I remember what they said to me. They're like, what are you talking about? They were hippies, so they didn't give me the, you're just imagining it and all that other stuff.
Right.
But they did their best to calm me down. And so they're like, okay, let's go and look. And there was nothing. But I mean, what was that?
I'm trying to process.
I got
that.
nothing.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But I think my life has a lot of those where you go, I got nothing. I don't know. And it sort of helped me to try not to explain stuff, because I think that people put so much baggage on things, it gets in the way.
Right.
Like that girl well, see, you got to call it something. That's the problem. Like the picture. I don't know if it's a ghost. I don't know if it's some portal to the past or the future, or it could be a fairy for all I know. I don't know. The only thing is, I'm looking at a picture. It looks like a girl,
They've got a mini version of CERN down in the basement in the bank in Chicago.
Or they may have one in the future. Maybe everybody has one to power their homes or something, or buildings. Who knows?
That's deep. I like that. Yeah.
I don't know.
That's interesting about that airplane. Wonder what the heck that was.
I don't know, but I've had a lot of those, and I've had instances of those where we can talk about the last one, because I've had instances of those where I've touched I've touched the shoulder of my buddy, and I'm like, do you see that? Just and he goes, oh yeah, man, it's there, yeah. So okay, it's not just me, it's me and him, and then it turned out it was our guide. I get, somebody will start talking about like mass hallucination, but in my mind, it's like, well, what's causing the mass hallucination then? What is behind that?
Right, it's still something. Right.
Yeah, what is the something that's doing it? I went when I was in my 20s. I got married early. We went for my honeymoon to Alaska, and we went to a place called Kennecott, and it's an old abandoned mining town, and it is the middle of nowhere. I think there was a sign that said that. But I went hiking with friends I had made, and the guide. And the guide was very laid back. He was cool. He was a wilderness guy. So, the guy hadn't bathed in like 3 weeks. He was that dude, if you know what I'm saying. He was that. He was sort of a chill dude.
Yeah.
And we went hiking. We went for a night hike. And we were walking through the woods. And at 20, I've already got some sort of, vague ideas of who I am and where my place is in the universe. Not enough because I was 20, but you have that. So I'm walking along, and out of the corner of my eye, we're in a forest. We're in a trail, and there's a forest. Out of the corner of my eye, because I'm so used to living in the city, it looked like there were headlights. It looked like they were sort of blinking headlights, and they were the size of headlights. And I thought, oh, there must be a parking lot on the other side of the tree line. And then my mind goes, you're in Alaska. There's no parking lot on the other side of the tree line. So I kind of just stopped. I stopped because there was only like 4 of us in the group, including the guide. And I stop and I say, what is that? And my buddy, he looked at it too, and he's like, I don't know what that is. And they weren't like flying saucers. They were orbs. And the thing that came to mind at the time was like they're will-o-wisps. They are just lights in the forest that sort of bounce around. And it is almost as if the things knew we were looking at them, because I remember one of them changed color. And the guy next to me is like, it's changing color. It's flickering. It's changing color. And our guide, who was so chill, he's like, yeah, you see him. Well, let's keep going. And he sort of had to pry us along, because, people are paying for this. We got to keep going. We got to make time. And we're like, dude, there's lights. There's lights moving around the forest. And my gut is, I've seen enough horror movies and stuff, and I know that you're not going to tempt me with money. You're not going to tempt me with like beautiful women, but you can tempt me with, hey, I got the book of the universe of knowledge. Hey, you want to know like secrets and stuff? Come with me. But I know I'm that guy, so I ain't going. You know what I'm saying? I maybe take a step or two, and then it kicks into like, no. Because I've read enough stories where you go and dance with the fairies and stuff, and you don't come back.
Yeah, you go.
Or those missing 411. I've read those books. You don't come back. You're going to find my shoes and socks, not me. No, I'm not doing it. But it was hard not to just want to just go see. That's the thing that got me. It was almost the opposite of the chair, which is why it's cool. I wanted to bring both up, because in this case, you sort of were like just dumbfounded with this curiosity. It's like, what the hell is that?
So you felt compelled to go towards them while they were flashing and moving?
Not. not from them, but from my own sense. Like I said,
Gotcha.
I'm that guy. I want to know more. I'm that fool. Hey, what's in the basement? Well, I'll find out. I really am that guy in real life. So just from my own accord, I wanted to. But they were changing colors, and they were sort of darting in the forest. And I like, it was dark, so I have no perception of how far away they were from us.
Right.
But could I walk to them? It appeared to me I could, and that was really tempting. It really, really was tempting.
Now, are they darting
No.
in tandem, like together? Are they moving together, or do they separate and come back together and move around?
Yeah, they didn't. I know what you're talking about. They didn't come into one ball and come back out, but they were sort of moving around, and it was those pictures that you've seen. Well, I hadn't seen them at the time,
Right.
but those sort of UFO pictures people, talk about. But they were under the trees. They were human-sized height, and then they got higher and lower. So, like I said, the thing that came out in my mind was like a will-o-wisp, where it draws you into the forest with dancing lights and such and voices. So I thought it was amazing.
But the guide, so your impression was he has seen these before. He just wants to keep going. He's like, whatever, it's not interesting to me.
Yeah, that's right. It's like, hey, we got time to make. We got to hit this glacier. I got to get you people back before 3:00 in the morning. We come on, let's go. Like, oh, all right.
He's like, I have shit to do.
He had probably dealt with that stuff before.
Huh.
Or I think I've read a whole lot of books, and in my mind, stuff like that, I think a lot of people see, but then they don't see. It's like the Douglas Adams, the series. He made a term called "It's not my business field," and these spaceships would come down, turn the field on, and people would look and go, it's not my business. And that was kind of like what the guide was like. Don't worry about it. It's not my business.
Now,
what about walking?
What about the third companion that was with you guys? What was he or she saying about this?
Oh, it
incident?
was all guys. The two were older. I was the youngest, and they were basically businessmen. He saw it too. He did not talk much. I did not really know him, but I know he noticed because I was looking at him because he was right behind my friend, and we were sort of all, what do you call it? We were all behind each other on the trail, So I don't know what those things were either. I have a lot of that. I don't know. I can guess, but I don't know.
Would you say that, I mean, you both saw them changing colors. Do you think that you perceived the same color at the same time that these other guys did?
No, I don't think anybody perceives the same color. That's just me. But I got brighter, and in my mind, it got blue. And I think he said it got blue. But we can have a great 3-hour discussion on what blue is if you want, Shannon.
Exactly.
I don't think you want that.
The hell is that dress that was out? It's
That's
gold,
right.
It's brown, it's whatever the hell it was.
I think that shows more about human perception than we're willing to talk about. We want to argue about the color of the dress and not about why we see different colors.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how long did that last?
It was there when we kept walking.
Wow,
It
really?
was still there. Yeah, it was still there. Yeah. That was one of those things where it's like, that's cool. That's that's cool. I've been in some, quote unquote haunted places where it's like, ooh, this has got a bad vibe. It's like when you walk into a room after somebody's had a real bad argument, it's like, ooh. But then I've been to some places where I felt like I was in a jail cell attached to a sheriff's office. I went and slept in the bedroom, and everybody else stayed down on the first floor. And the only reason why I did it, because it felt like my grandparents' house. I don't know what that is, but it's like, no, I'm going to be perfectly fine here. I feel wonderful.
Right.
It was like my grandparents' house. So I don't know. It had that sort of feeling, like it was sort of a happy, kind of curious feeling, which is probably not good. So it's good we kept walking, ultimately.
It makes you wonder. It makes you mentioned the 411 and the missing people in the forest, and feelings of being comforted or going somewhere you shouldn't be going. Clint Granberry, when I had him on, I think it was the first time I had him on, and he was talking about his incident down in Lake Tahoe, going down to the lake walking down there just by himself. And then he's like, you know what? I feel really tired. This base of the tree looks like a perfect place to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And he fought the feeling. And he's like, I just wonder. He doesn't know, but he just wonders what would have happened
if he had fallen asleep. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You know, I have a bunch of garbage in my head, but in my mind, those things remind me of the old Hansel and Gretel story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and what it's about? Well, I really want to go and see this candy house and eat it. I'm really drawn in. You know, sometimes you get more from attracting people than scaring the crap out of them. You know, there you go.
Yeah. And
the whole thing about the will-o-wisp is it draws you in, and you become just forever lost in the forest. You know, so even with that in my mind, it was kind of like, hey, this is cool. You know, almost giddy. Like, this is fun. Let's go look. My sense kind of prevailed.
It is so cool. They're changing colors and their brightness would change, you said.
Yes. And they were moving. They were bopping up and down and sort of in and out. And it almost was like they were, whatever they are, noticed that we noticed. And they were putting on a show.
That's so odd. That's the exact term that I used for the light that we saw in on the Brown property in Washington. That damn light. That's the exact same thing that I said.
My real, and then, you know, here it is. I'm going to get, you know, you're a crackpot, but I call them Fae because do I think that they're little, you know, things floating around and hanging out in flowers? No, but I mean, it's the only word I got that sort of makes sense given all the folklore and stuff. You know, what are they? I don't know. You know, I guess you could just as easily call them trans-dimensional beings or something, but I think Fae sounds cooler.
Yeah, and like you said, these aren't the friendly little Tinkerbells that want to hold your hand and, like you said, oh, come look at the flowers. They'll basically take you wherever they take you, and you will never come back. In fact, right above my head here in my fancy recording closet, I have the, and I still need to read it and probably get him on one of these days, Fairy Paths in Spirit Roads.
I have that book.
You do?
Oh, yeah.
I need to probably go through that and do the old Fae episodes because it's fascinating. There's some dark little things and big time ulterior motives there.
Well, and that's the whole point with that. It's like you don't know what their motives are. You just don't. If there's anything more alien, it would be like the old stories dealing with that. And I have friends, really good friends, who are Irish, and they still have those stories about, you know, hey, this one guy goes dancing with the fairies, and then you don't see him for 5 years. You know?
He just walks out of the forest like, hey, guys.
Yeah, and then he walks out of the forest. He's like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, dude, it's been 5 years.
Now, Jim, is that, having not really looked into this as much as I should, I'm just going to ask you because you have the same book and you know about this more than I do. Are these Fae tied into boulders and boulder fields? Like they live in the boulders or anything like that?
My understanding is, well, that's where, I mean, if you want to, dwarves are Fae and they can live in boulder fields. I think there's a lot of things that humans call different names that are pretty much the same thing. Mm-hmm. Like glamour. I mean, we get the word glamour, and that's actually a word they used for Fae, because glamour used to be the ability to change and muddle your mind and make you think of anything that they want you to. And that's why we have the word, and that's why we use it today. It's glamorous. Well, that used to be like a creepy word, you know, because all of a sudden you're walking and talking and your aunt is not your aunt, something else. You know,
it just makes you wonder if you go to certain places and it does happen to have a boulder field or a massive, strange boulder. If you sit there long enough, will you see lights? Will you experience the Fae Folk, or is it just certain places on our planet, or the veil is thinner, whatever you want to call it?
I really think they're a lot closer than we give them credit for. I mean, I have, okay, so like my girlfriend is Irish too. She has a little fairy door for the brownies in the bedroom. I mean, okay. I mean, I know that's like a tradition in her family. Right. That's very cute, but you have a little fairy door in your home for the brownies.
You hear the tiny creaking, like, you're like, get that thing out of here.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, historically, brownies are supposed to be good. They're all supposed to be really sort of capricious, but, you never want to upset them or insult them, and you're sort of walking around. It's kind of like walking around somebody who's been drinking and on a lot of steroids. You're kind of walking on eggshells all the time. But if you're very nice to them, they're supposed to mean you no harm. In fact, the brownies are supposed to help you with your home. So that's why they have it. It's supposed to like sort of do things around the house and find lost things for you. Yeah, they're supposed to be really beneficial, unless you piss them off.
I'm just thinking of the brownies from the movie Willow. They love to drink.
You're showing your age.
I love that movie. They're falling in the massive thing of ale. And he's like, oh, this is great. I'm just going to hang out here for a while. But
I have done a lot of sort of work with that stuff, and I think that all over the world we call them a bunch of different names, but they're really the same thing. I really think that. And when I get my butt in gear and I can actually finish the book, hopefully it will be out someday during my lifetime, I will sort of pile it all together. But that is my, that's my guess, and it's just a guess.
Did you catch the episode with Brennan Storr, the Strange Little Place on Revelstoke, Canada? He talked about people believing. I had never heard of this before I read his book, and I talked about it on the show. I don't remember the episode number. Sorry, guys. Brennan Storr's episode, he talked about gremlins. If you have gremlins in your house, they are the opposite of what you describe. What you said about brownies made me think of the gremlins. And these aren't exactly like the gremlins that we think of in the 80s movies, but they will, your lights won't
Don't
work.
feed them after midnight.
Exactly.
When exactly is midnight? I'm that guy. When is midnight?
You're like, what time zone?
Yeah.
Yeah, so these guys will, your car will stop running. And I think the idea was that it starts basically outside and it moves its way inside. Like, your smoke alarms will go off eventually. The light sockets will stop working. Anyhow, you're supposed to put, and this is funny because it'll tie in with the feeding, is you're supposed to put a saucer of milk outside your main door. And supposedly nothing else will touch it, but then the gremlins will be pacified and go away and things will start working again. So that's what made me, you said the brownies will help you. They are helpful.
Well, it sounds like your gremlins are pissed off brownies.
Yeah, maybe they haven't had any ale. They need a little more ale to pacify them.
They've become very surly. Yeah.
But you know what, you make an interesting point because, and it's something that I've tried to wrap my head around, and it all has to be connected somehow.
Oh,
whether it's a good side or a bad side, but there has to be the connection somewhere that we're just not able to process right now.
I don't think, it may be the fact that we never will. And that's the part that I get a lot of flack for. But, I have a wonderful cat. I mean, Mr. Pickles, he's fantastic.
Mr. Pickles, I love it.
I will never be able to teach him French. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it might not be something we'll be able to understand.
Come on now.
I'm just saying a person's got to have their limits, and the sad thing is we're sort of all in our separate islands. There's no. I used to watch shows like, well, we're gonna hold on to this and we're gonna use it later. When? Where's this database?
Yeah.
I think I'd love to be a part of something that's like, let's put all this stuff together and see if we can find anything in the data. Do they come out after midnight? When is midnight? Does something come out in a rock field? Because I'm sure people have sat out there. Do they? I wish we could all just get together and just dump it into some pot, a spreadsheet, and just see what's there. It seems like we're all in our just little universes doing our thing. And what I know and what you know, well, if we put together, we might know a hell of a lot more.
And the lights in the forest, yes, people have seen lights in their house, or if you want to call them orbs, like you said, or, they'll be darting across a camera, and it's always hard to tell if it's a bug or dust or whatever the heck it is.
It's a bug. It's dust. That's me. I'm that bug. It's a bug. It's dust.
Yeah, I'm always scoffing at that stuff. I can't stand that stuff on TV because I'm like, well, I wasn't there. So to me, it's just a speck of dust. But these lights in the forest seem to be much more intelligent and seem to choose these times and almost choose like you said, they notice you noticing it, and that's the same exact description that I gave of that light in Washington State. Granted, it seems like once it noticed us noticing it, it darted towards the ground, and we didn't know where the hell it went. But it's like they choose.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, there's actually a dark side to that, because I've talked to, again, my almost new Irish family, and they're like, that noticing you don't want them to notice you, because if they take too much interest, God help you. That really was the sort of end of that. It's like maybe you don't want them noticing.
See, and if that's the case, if they decide, say they choose you, but you saw it as an orb to start out with, what's the next level, right? And what's the level after that? Is it all connected? Do they then turn into the little creepy gnomes? Or are they four-legged creatures? Like, what is it?
I think, well, again, this is just me, but I think what happens is you don't come back. That's what I think. I think you're gone partying for God knows how long, and if they decide to let you back, good luck.
I mean, hopefully it's a party. God.
Yeah, but I mean, do you want to be in a 5-year party? It's going to get old. That's going to get old real quick.
Yeah, I'm not much of a partier anyway.
I know. That's what I'm saying. You should have asked me years ago, but now I just want to take a nap.
Because isn't there stories of, like you mentioned, the guy that's gone for like 5 years, and he pops back out and he has no idea he's been gone, though, right? I mean, he's not injured. He's been gone. He's
in the same clothes. He's like, what's going on? I left during winter,
Right.
Yeah.
Clothes aren't dirty. Shoes are the same. It doesn't look like he's been walking for 5 years in a trance, right?
Yeah. And how different really is that from, I mean, it's 5 years versus a few days, but how different from that is like the Walden. Isn't it Walden? Because I met him, the Fire in the Sky fella.
Yeah, Travis Walton, yeah.
Travis Walton. How different is that? 5 years, 3 days. I mean, were they aliens? Were they something else? God knows. But there's a lot of similarities between, what folks call UFOs and like the old stories about the Fae.
Right.
That's what really interests me. I can't help it. That's really, really what interests me. Because you look in our history and we have all these stories, and then we have things now and oh, this is brand new. No, it's not. No. Like weird things floating around the sky. They had those back when, there was nothing at all in the sky but birds. They had ships floating around way back in the day. Those are old stories too.
Well, yeah, it's just how deep does the rabbit hole go?
Yeah.
How much is connected? Even the recent cases of people going missing in the forest, and their clothes are there. Stephen, and why would that guy be able to walk out of the forest after 5 years unharmed and unchanged in any way? But other people, we're not going to bring this one back. Is it their way of culling the herd?
The thing. Yeah, because you do have even modern cases of kids coming back like over like long distances, and like why did that one come back and the other one not? What was really interesting about this one? And it's the same thing with the whole alien abduction. Why did they get poor Jeff who's in the room beside me and leave me alone? The moral of the story is don't be Jeff, but I mean, why? What makes him special and not me?
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing, I guess. Would if it was a different group hiking, would they have seen those? God knows.
Well, and they're not shy. I mean, look at the lights that you saw.
They were not shy.
It does make you wonder, though, if in any other night you had a different guide and they'd been like, what the hell is that, per se? They hadn't seen him before. And they're like, and all of you guys walk over there. It's a big ... right? Like,
yeah.
What would happen?
Would I be on the program today? Yeah, that's very true. I don't know.
Damn
I actually
Jim, you're
never
supposed
to find
know
out.
the answers. That's why I'm talking to you right now.
That's the trick. Nobody knows. Hey, if anybody wants to get that database going, though, I volunteer to help. But that's the only way. I mean, if everybody laments the fact that, the scientists don't do it, the scientists aren't doing it, well, then maybe we should do it,
Yeah,
and
we better not wait on that train, because we'll be sitting at the station for a really long time.
Yeah, I know. But I mean,
for
I
the
can
old
hope.
scientists. No, not for
the scientists.
I hope that your idea does come true, but the whole science, that'll just... There's too much money and ego tied in there for folks to be able to get involved. And I get it. I totally understand. But
you were right about the ego. Nobody wants to talk about that, but there is so much ego involved in that. And at a certain point, well, what's the science and we're believing in this because we follow this guy and screw this other guy. We don't like him. He smells funny. Really.
Well, those
and that's
people
not
you always
supposed
want to ignore.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be science, but it is.
Right.
It really is. I've spent enough time in college, and I've spent enough time writing papers and doing things and sort of listening to my professors who were all publish or perish to know that's I wouldn't call that a scientific process. They used to say, I don't know if they still do it. It's like a paradigm changes when the last supporter of it dies.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole Pangea that people get laughed at, and the poor guy who thought that there were germs infecting us instead of bad smells. I think they committed, that poor fool. I mean, it's just, if we wait around for that stuff, you're right. No, it's not going to happen.
No good.
It won't happen.
I'm trying to process all the details of that story. It's very cool because I've had a slightly similar.
Yeah.
Experience.
And you have to wonder, why did they notice you?
Yeah. Because it was out there coming towards us, and we were in big barn, which granted had some of the walls down, but we were back in this barn, if you will. I don't know what the hell this thing was. If it could see through walls, how should I know? But from our vantage point, if it was something like a person, like per se, they wouldn't have been able to see us. But when we went out towards the open side of the barn, to where, let's just assume it has like human eyesight, it would have been able to see us, and that's when it acted completely different and dove into the ground. Very strange. So.
Yeah, or at that point it knew you could see it, or it was
that's what got us all. We're like, did that really just happen? And then when nothing comes up on a $5,000 FLIR thermal,
yes,
you're like, okay, so that wasn't a headlamp, and it was so thorny and brushy, and you're like, no, it's just, how could that have been a person? It's not impossible. I'm not saying that. I can't really readily explain it. It's very strange.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, was it all just a hoax? My trail guide, did he have like 3 or 4 people dancing around with lights and going up and down? He could have. I'm not going to say he didn't, but I mean, in my mind, just looking at him, it's like, that's way too much work. Right. I mean, just no.
Right.
I've been a lawyer. I mean, I've been a trial lawyer for years, and there is a reason why. And I know people can be good liars, but there is a reason why that I enjoy talking to people and seeing them, because you get sort of, I don't know what it is, sort of an instinct after a while. It's like, well, is this person telling the truth? Does this person have the character to do something like that? I like that. I think there's something to be said for that. Like, I don't know. I think generally those things are real. And when people tell you those stories, I think, especially if you can see them and hear them, I believe them. I really do.
Yeah, there's something about when a person's voice will change in tone and cadence when they're retelling some of these stories. And you're like, oh man, after all these years, it still gets to them. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like something fearful still. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Because I think our experiences, they're in us forever. You got it, man. You don't get away from that. Well, like you said, some of these things that when I was a teen, all it took was those, the count of 5 or 6, whatever it was, to see those things changed the whole course of what I was interested in. So there you go. It doesn't take much.
No, but I think it doesn't take much for certain people. So I think that's what it is. And maybe that's the reason why they notice, Yeah. Because with another person, it's like one of those, it's not my business field. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. I got things to do. Okay. Maybe there's something in us that just inherently wants to know what the hell kind of universe we're living in.
Well, doesn't your blackboard tell us that? Come on, Jim. Let's read the blackboard.
It does, but I can't make heads or tails of it.
Yeah.
I only scribble on it when I'm sleeping.
So, boy, that's some creepy stuff. I like that. Just scrawling away, eyes closed. Yeah. Gotta keep trucking, man. It's just nothing but more questions. But that's part of the wonderful chase.
Travel, it really is, because all you're left with is more questions.
Yeah. Which you've given me more.
There you go.
Hearing that story, I hadn't heard the light story, so that's very cool. I appreciate you sharing that.
Problem. And if you ever want to go camping, let me know. We'll go hiking. We'll see what happens.
We'll find that very guide. If he's still doing it, we'll be like, look, dude, if we see the lights this time, we're going towards them. Maybe.
Shannon, I don't think you need to be up in Alaska. I don't think you even need that guy. I think all you have to do is sort of wander into a forest. If they notice you, they'll do it wherever.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a slight experience like that. Like I said, who knows what the hell it was, but it's in the same category of what the hell?
Yes. What do they call it? High strangeness. I love high strange.
Yeah.
There, I'm all about that. Yeah, it's like, what in the hell was that? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
it makes me sad because I think when I first got into all this stuff, Sasquatch was the big thing, but then I'd taper off and look at UFOs a little bit and this and that, but I don't know. Lately, the whole UFO thing is just bumming me out. There's just nothing exciting about it. I'm sure people are like, oh man, you haven't done a UFO show in like forever. And it's true because it's the same stories that we're rehashing and the same accounts. And, if you send a video to someone of a light in the sky at night, it's just, there's nothing there. It's not exciting, and unless it's doing some crazy maneuvers, I don't know. Is that all tied into what we see in the forest and people going missing? And I don't know, but
I heard a story, and I don't know where, so forgive me, but it was maybe it was from I don't know, Project Archivist, but he was talking about a guy who was tracking like UFOs. And he saw one, and he didn't have like binoculars that he wanted to, and it was just sort of like a blob in the sky. And then, like years later, he got all this equipment because he was driven against equipment. I feel for the guy, believe me. I understand what he was doing. So he got all this equipment, and it comes around again. He's like, I got you, you son of a bitch, I got you. And he zooms into it, and it's still a damn blob in the sky. That is the thing that makes me go, okay, wait a minute. Hold
it's just
on.
more blurry usually, and you're like, just pull back. It looked better before.
Well, but the thing is, it never looks, no matter what, it's always this amorphous blob.
Yeah, I can't stand that stuff right now. It's bugging the hell out of me.
Well, in my mind, it makes really for the holographic sort of universe premise that maybe we are in just a big Matrix kind of thing. Because when you're playing games and such, like to bring it back, when you're playing games and you see that way far out mountain in the background, well, you're never going to get there. And it's always going to look like that way far out mountain, just like that blurry blob that dude saw.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's not quote unquote real. You're never going to get to it.
Yeah, you can never pull it to you, and you can never get to it.
That's right. I'm going to walk till I get there. Well, good luck, buddy. Grab your axe and keep walking. Good luck.
Get a good pair of shoes, friend.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, Jim, I really appreciate you coming on. Welcome to come back anytime. And, of course, the hotline is available to you and anyone else that wants to call. I appreciate you doing that. So before we go, make sure you let everyone know where to find you.
Hey, I'm on Twitter at Jim Pyre. I'm on Facebook as Jim Pyre, and I have my website. Well, thank you, Shannon, for saying it.